There's more to life than salt, pepper, and lemons.
Welcome back to Can You Not? Jesse, Amber, and I are united once again to deliver you with some interesting topics. And this time, the theme is fear, which I've been told is a bit too broad of a topic. So I apologize.
Well, to be fair, we had until like starting around noon to figure something out for tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
To be fair.
For me, it was 30 minutes ago. So.
Yeah, Jesse worked all day. I was doing homework, and then I went on a bike ride. So, whoops.
Would you prefer I go? I feel like it's been a while since I've gone.
You should go first.
It's been a while.
No Nickelback allowed. I need a sticker that says no Nickelback on my laptop.
I don't even know if that's Nickelback. I just know it's oh, bad music.
In fact, I was just telling Jesse, I was waiting at the restaurant where I helped do stuff at, and I was reading a local paper, and one of the local high schools, Amber, they said they chose Photograph by Nickelback as their class song because it resonated so well with them. And I was just like, I just burst out laughing while I was sitting
okay, so the people who are allowed to pick class songs never seem to do it right. My class song was that fun song.
Tonight.
Yeah, the one that's kind of about rape, kind of. Yeah, that's the one we picked. So that was
about rape?
Look at the lyrics.
Ugh.
It suggests something or abuse or something. Oof. Yeah, it's great.
I'll have to check that out. Maybe.
I wanted it to be the Electric Light Orchestra song that I can't remember the name of.
Oh. There's many good ones. I got Mr. Blue Sky.
Mr. Blue Sky is the one. Yeah, that would have, because it was for choir. That would have. We're still off topic. I'm sorry.
Mr. Blue Sky is epic.
Yes, it's such a good song.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
I was thinking about the things that I fear, and something that I've feared for the longest time is not the death of Pixar, although I would be scared of that. I have a fear of physical pain. And I looked it up, and apparently it's called Algophobia. And I just think it's kind of an interesting fear to have because you're not going to be able to avoid it. You're always going to be in a situation where you find pain. I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of whatever it's going to kill me because it's most likely going to be painful in some manner. It's like, so it's going to happen eventually. So is this a rational fear to have? Or is it just the overabundance of it that is irrational?
The rationality aspect, I don't think anyone can really harness and pinpoint. Like, a fear is going to be irrational to a lot of other people, but it might be rational to your thought process of how you perceive things. You know what I mean? Like, so it's hard to divvy what is rational and what's not rational with a fear. Right. On the other hand, like a paper cut, like there must be a degree to this fear.
Oh yeah, the paper cut.
You know what I mean?
But it's to a point where like the paper cut I'm not afraid of, but it's like a actual like intentional cut, I think.
Or someone punching you in the face.
Yeah, something like that. I was looking it up, and apparently according to a study done in 2009 or 2008, they said that people who do have this fear tend to make it worse, and it feeds off each other in a feedback loop because they are thinking so much about the fear. Whereas if they were distracted and not thinking about that kind of stuff, that they probably wouldn't have it as severely. They also said that old people will sometimes grow to have this fear as well because they see so many of their friends who are sick or who have like chronic pain and stuff like that, and they are afraid of capturing. Which makes me, I mean, that's one thing I'm not looking forward to with old age is that facet of it. So I can relate to that, and I'm not even old yet.
Well, I feel like fears to a certain degree can kind of be classified. The things that are instinctive and the things that you learn with experience. Mm-hmm. So like nobody's born with the fear of clowns, but there's still people who are afraid of clowns. I think everybody's afraid of heights. I think most people are afraid to some degree of dying. I think everybody and those are the fears that I feel like evolution has given people, because if you weren't afraid of heights, you'll walk over the edge, right. And you'll die, and that's why there aren't people who aren't afraid of heights.
Well, there are people who aren't afraid of heights, though. I mean, like, think about
but I mean, like, everybody to a certain degree
Has some kind of fear trigger of it.
Right, like it's a thing you automatically know, like I don't want to do that for the most part. Like I wouldn't call myself afraid of heights, but there's still the
like there's that tension at least, kind of like a
it's the awareness of being in danger, and I feel like pain is another one. Like the reason that your body creates pain is because there's something's happening that isn't supposed to be happening. Like your brain does that on purpose. So I feel like being afraid of that to a certain degree makes sense, because I shouldn't say nobody, but most people don't want to be hurt.
Yeah, but I almost wonder, because I know a lot of people who appear to have a higher pain tolerance than I do. I do not have a high pain threshold at all. But I wonder how much of that is because of my fear, so I'm building it up and I have, or whether there really is like this mysterious sort of like pain tolerance that each person has, I guess. Or maybe it's both. I don't know.
I mean, I think it depends. I think a lot of it depends on mindset. Like, I don't know, that just reminds me of one time I was listening to my brother talk about what it's like to get he has tattoos, and just listening to him talking about getting the tattoos, and it does hurt, but you accept that it hurts, kind of thing, I think is what he said. So I think it depends a lot on how you approach it.
And I almost wonder if there's a difference between, like, well, getting a tattoo, you're seeing it and you know ahead of time and you're actively participating in it and giving your consent to it. And I almost wonder if there's like a different sort of thing that triggers in your brain when something like that happens, as opposed to like if someone ran your leg over with a car, I guess.
I think it has to do with control. Like, you can say, like, you can plan for years, like, the tattoo that you're going to get, and you can be prepared for that because you know that it's the thing that you want. But if somebody, like, breaks your legs, it's like, well, I didn't really want that to happen. So, I mean,
there are actually weird. I remember looking it up a while back. There are actually people who wish to be paraplegic and have actually taken measures of their own to inflict that upon themselves. It's a very weird phenomenon. I don't remember what it's called. I might look that up while we're still talking.
But I don't think paraplegic immediately means pain.
Right. There's something. I don't know if there's like they're drawn to the disability of it or something. I don't know. I just remember reading this article and being like, this is a little weird and probably really kind of cringy to people who actually, don't have usage of their legs.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like desires like that. Because, I mean, the reason, obviously, that I backed off and said, well, obviously, not everybody doesn't want to be in pain all the time is obviously because of fetishism and things like that. And I remember one time Bryce, on a podcast, I think, said that fetishes are about power and giving and taking power. And I feel like while it's not necessarily sexual, I feel like that could still play a role in this. Like, some people are attracted to the idea of others needing to be around them, maybe, and helping. But I don't think paraplegic necessarily means that they want to be in pain, especially if they just want a surgery that makes it so they can't use their legs.
Oh, so here's the thing. It's called body integrity identity disorder, and it's people who have an unexplained urge to be an amputee or paraplegic. Then the article goes on about some guy who thought he was crazy, but he's rejected his left leg above the knee ever since he was 6 years old, but he kept the forbidden thoughts hidden from almost everyone for decades.
You mean below the knee? If you reject it above the knee, that's like everything except your foot.
Yeah.
And
it says above the knee. I don't know if it's a typo.
But that's still, I think it's more they're working out the ideal instead of working through pain management or fear of pain.
Yeah, I don't think that's
You know what I
pain.
mean? I think there's a difference between idealistic fetish kind of viewpoint rather than being terrified of pain. You know what I mean?
Right. I guess that's why, as hard as I try, I really always want to be open-minded and respectful of other people's, what they're into and everything. But the idea of mixing like when people talk about like having a fetish for pain, like,
masochism.
Yeah, I cannot relate to that. I want to be so hard to be understanding of that, and I literally cannot sympathize with it at all.
I don't think. But here's the thing: by trying to be understanding and not being able to sympathize, they're not trying. They don't want you to sympathize for them, and they don't really care for you to understand. just as long as you don't judge them and demean them.
Yeah, you don't have to be
Sure.
into
You know
it.
what I mean?
You
Like,
just
you don't have to understand them. This is the same way that, like, majoritarians feel about POC. Like, how can I sympathize and understand? We don't want sympathy or understanding. We just want you to support us.
Yeah, or just
Like-
mostly, even just don't be a dick. You
Exactly.
know,
Like, just don't be one.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay, but
Okay, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
I don't know. I feel like that's a rational fear. I was mostly afraid of heights. Like that was my main one.
Oh, really?
But
And
I'm
you've climbed up.
Yeah, I'm
wind
over it.
turbines.
Yeah,
and stuff.
no, I'm not scared. I wanted to do lights for theater, so I couldn't be afraid of heights. I just
So was it one of those things where you did it enough times you forced yourself not to be afraid anymore?
well, I'd been up on the catwalks in school and stuff, and then by the time I got to, like, in high school, I'd been up on the catwalks to focus lights, and by the time I got to the wind turbine degree, I had also been up on the grid in the studio theater, which is basically like walking with nothing except, like, wires underneath of you that are in a cross pattern, so, like, you have to walk over that. So I'd pretty much walked on nothing already, so,
Oh God.
you know, by the time I got to the wind turbine, it was mostly just like, oh man, I'm 100 feet in the air. And then I looked down the ladder. I was like, I should not have looked down the ladder. But I got over it. It's fine. Everything's fine.
So what I'm taking away from this is that I need to start taking a sledgehammer to my kneecap.
Absolutely
Maybe
not.
not.
Nah, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting because most of the time they say, like, the best way to work out your fears is to face the things that you're afraid of. I don't think you should start hurting yourself, though. Like, I don't think that's a good thing.
I don't
like if
think you
you're-
should be looking for fights either.
Just like if you're afraid of dying, that
Yeah,
you probably don't want to confront that one head on either.
Yeah, I feel like there are better ways to confront it.
Yeah, so I feel kind of bad that I just made the whole topic about psychoanalyzing me.
I mean, we were talking about lots of stuff. There are lots of things.
I mean, you're the only white man in this podcast, so it's only fitting.
I have to predicate my personal journey above anybody else's.
I'm just
it's in my
kidding.
it's in my history.
I'm just kidding. Podcast listeners, don't hate me. And if you do, just tweet me. Let me know how much you hate me. I actually changed my topic last second. And I was
From already
thinking-
picking up one for the last second to begin with.
Yes. So as Amber was talking and discussing fears of pain with you, Joseph, I was like thinking, how has fear impacted my life? And it's quite simple. A lot of people around me in my family and friends have suffered from PTSD. And if people don't know what PTSD is a post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's a disorder that develops in some people who have experienced a shocking, scary, or dangerous event. Traumatic situations replay in their head, and many things can trigger it. Split-second changes in the body happen, and like your mind works to defend against danger or to avoid it, so the flight or fight happens. And I was just thinking to myself, because anxiety is a big aspect of PTSD and what people are afraid of. And a lot of people work on different levels of PTSD, I would say, and maybe more anxiety than PTSD. And I was just thinking to myself, like, for me, I've had a couple instances with the police where when I am walking to my car alone at night, or I'm driving home late at night, certain events run through my mind and it takes me to that place. I've had to pull over on the side of the road just to like get my mind out of it. But I work through these fears a lot, and my mother has been through situations, and I had a cousin who was in the Marines, and he was in Afghanistan 2 or 3 times, and I'm pretty sure he had PTSD as well. And it's one of those things that as a country we don't really address as much because it's, once again, a mental health issue.
Yeah.
And we seem to just sweep that underneath the table. And I guess I don't know what I'm working with this topic, but I guess it's more like, is PTSD as common in your lives as it is mine? Because I know we all come from very different places in American society. You know, I mean, very drastic, different ones. Joseph grew up in rural, near Oberlin, Ohio. you grew up in Elyria, I grew up in Avon, and we're all very different based off of gender, race.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, it's a big aspect in my family and in my personal life. Does PTSD affect you as much as it affects me?
I don't know about PTSD. I know one of my cousins was a Marine, and I'm sure he has it to some degree or another, but I don't talk to him very much, so I don't really know. I think, and I feel like the difference, from, I guess, fears or, stress or that kind of thing to anxiety, clinical anxiety has to do with physical reactions, so it has to do with how your body reacts more than just how you're thinking about it. So anxiety actually has physical symptoms, and I think PTSD is it's another set of physical and emotional things that happen all at once. So they're just kind of different levels, I feel. I think most of the time when I hear about things like that was more in high school, when I'd be talking to just other people who had anxiety or things like that. I don't know if I've talked to anybody who had PTSD, but it felt like in high school, just where I was within the school and the people I was talking to a lot, there were a lot of people with anxiety and who were depressed and who had to deal with that kind of thing. So it hasn't been as much, at least not PTSD, hasn't been a thing that I've worked with firsthand.
I think I have something that might qualify. I think I've mentioned this before. When I was still getting my license, I only had my permit, so I wasn't even 16 yet. And so I was driving with my mom to go pick up my sister from a party. And it was an extremely cold day, and there was snow and stuff like that, and I didn't know how to handle it very well. And we were going about 60 miles per hour, and we ran into some black ice. And there were a bunch of cars already crashed up ahead because it was this big slick patch of ice. So I spun our van into a ditch to avoid hitting anybody else, and basically ruined the whole front part of the car. But I remember my mom screaming, as this happening, because literally being at the wheel and not having any control, and still being so new to even driving, was so. And so now when I drive in the winter time, if the weather conditions are bad, I can barely I just want to get home as soon as possible, because I can barely take it, because all those things kind of come back to me,
So do you feel any flashbacks when you even touch the wheel or you're in the car? Or is it just one of those things where it's in context with the accident?
Well, it took me a while to feel comfortable with driving again. I would say probably several months before there was even one small trip where I felt comfortable at all. But it tends to be just mostly in the winter, like I said. If there's a snowstorm coming, or even if someone says there's going to be snow and I have to drive a while, I start sweating a little bit, because I'm just thinking, I'm going to have to drive in that. And it's and I haven't gotten into an accident since then, at least nothing like that. And so but I still think about that, and I think about how much power there is behind the wheel, and and that's the other thing I'm terrified of killing somebody in a car. I really, really, really think about that a lot, and I'm terrified of that. The idea that I literally, with one little tiny slip of the wheel, I could instantly end somebody's life and change a couple hundred other people's by proxy.
It's interesting, because for you, you're wielding the death. To me, I feel so vulnerable to death.
That is interesting. It's two sides of the coin, right?
For me, seeing police cruisers or stuff like that, for me, I immediately just go back to the moments in my life where it's gone so south for me doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I've also seen, my mother also suffers from PTSD. I wouldn't describe her situation.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
For her being in, narrow spaces or closed spaces, and she sees, a guy in that vicinity, for her, it's over. It's completely over. Yeah. And I feel it's a fear that, continues the rest of your life, even with help. And it's one of those things where it's not just one thing. It's a multitude or a litany of things that just immediately brings you to that situation. I find that PTSD is so unique compared to other fears. Because with a fear of pain, at least you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like with PTSD, it's so combustible.
Yeah.
Well, because I almost feel like calling PTSD, like, it's related, but saying PTSD is a form of fear, it almost feels wrong, because PTSD is a treatable, well, not treatable, it's a
What's a result of the fear almost, right? Like
it's not only a result of fear, it's a result of trauma. It's something that you can't get over. So I don't know, I try and be careful, like, classifying things as PTSD.
And we are not experts on mental health or anything like that, so don't.
Oh no, for me, I feel trauma. I mean, you guys saw me firsthand that one day after my situation, and you guys have never seen me like that before. So for me, I still work through that day. It happened 2 years ago. So I understand what you're saying with being careful with it, but I do feel like there are aspects of fear in it, like.
Yeah, I just mean, like, moving from fear to anxiety and stress to trauma to PTSD. They're just different steps, is all I'm saying. And
I got it, but it works from fear, and that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I understand that it's related. What I was mostly saying, like, was just being careful. Yeah, just being careful with what you're saying is trauma and what you're saying is PTSD and what you're saying is fear. That's all I meant was the classifications.
My fear is from the situation where I suffered through trauma.
Right.
And it's a reoccurring event through my PTSD.
It's interesting because, like, the more I think about it, I think I've gotten better with handling pain. Like, I think that's something I'm less afraid of anymore. But the fear of accidentally killing another person, I think is actually only increased more and more the older I get. And the more I think about how easily it is to accidentally harm somebody. It's just.
But I feel like that kind of fear is healthy. Like, being aware of what
that's true.
Of what you're doing and what kind of damage could happen if you were to drive drunk or something. That I think that's a very healthy thing to have.
And I think it's formulated by society in the way laws are set up too, because you're scared of the results of that, the penalties you would have to pay. The years you would have to serve in prison.
Yeah, like I said, I don't even think about it in terms of myself. It's always like, wow, I could end somebody entirely and they wouldn't exist anymore. It's just the most daunting thing. And the family would forever not have that person. It's just the most terrifying thing. Man, this is a dark episode. This week, our sponsor is one of our favorites, Backblaze, our very first, in fact. It's an unlimited native backup solution for both Mac and PC, no matter what you have. You don't need a credit card, and it's no risk. But you can get a free 15-day trial at backblaze.com/canyouNot. You'll get access to all your backed up data with the iOS and Android apps. A web restore is available for quick downloads anywhere you have an internet connection. And you can purchase a hard drive that has all your data on it. And literally this just works in the background of your computer. You don't need to do anything. Like, literally it's just this little icon that you have at the top. You just turn it on and it automatically backs everything up without disrupting anything. They currently have over 200 petabytes of data stored at their servers, with over 10 billion files restored as a whole. And there's no gimmicks or anything. Like, I can attest because I use it. It's literally just $5 a month for unlimited, unthrottled backup. Plus, if you're a developer and need archives, you can check out Backblaze B2, which is Backblaze's cloud storage for half a penny per gig per month. But if you want to support our show and you want to support the people who support our show, you can go to backblaze.com/canyouNot so they know where you came from and get a free 15-day trial for this, I think personally, very amazing service.
The thing that I've said already in the podcast is that I think a lot of fear is based out of control. It has to do with being out of control of certain things. So, like, swerving on black ice. That's a thing you cannot control. And it's the uncertainty, I think, that makes it scary.
Yeah. There's things I could have controlled better about the situation, though.
Right, but it's the idea that you are out of control. You know what I mean? Like, and that, I feel, has a lot to do with it. So I was thinking about just other things, I guess. I was on psychology today, and the two things that I ended up looking at were people who hardcore are into conspiracy theories and people who are hypochondriacs. And I thought it was interesting because there are similarities between the two. So people who are really, really into conspiracy theories tend to be angry, mistrustful, alienated from society, and helpless over larger forces controlling their lives. And I feel like people who have hypochondria, like actually have the psychological disorder of hypochondria. Also, I don't know about the anger part, but it's this like lack of control over the things that are happening with your body. And with both the conspiracy theory and the hypochondria, it's about finding patterns. So with conspiracy theorists, you find patterns in facts. You find the things you want to find. And I'm not talking about everybody who believes in some conspiracy theory. I mean the people who are really, really into it and they think that there's some big evil force controlling everything.
The Alex Joneses of the world, right?
I think that's actually who this article's about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I lost my train of thought.
You're piecing information.
Okay, so your brain actually rewards you with dopamine when you can find patterns in things. I think that's part of the reason why people find patterns in so many things. Another interesting thing is that schizophrenic people have higher levels of dopamine, so that you can take that or leave that. But but the idea is that when you're a conspiracy theorist, you're piecing pieces of information together, and when you have a fact and it contradicts what you believe, you can say, the people behind everything bad are so good at covering up the thing that I know exists. And with hypochondriacs, it's another thing. It's feeling something is wrong. And I guess it's not so much of a pattern, but you feel something wrong and you jump to the very worst thing that it could be. But again, it's recognizing something and then piecing it together with something else. So I thought that was interesting. And both of these things, if you get them to their most base level, even though hypochondria is an actual mental disorder and conspiracy theorists are just people who don't necessarily have a diagnosable mental disorder, they're both based in this thing where I think, or at least this is just kind of how I'm piecing my argument together, is based in the idea that you're not really sure, you don't feel like you have control over something, and you're grabbing something and saying, this is the one thing that I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So that's a very basic human thing. Like, fear is probably like the only emotion that every single animal feels, like in my opinion. But at the same time, we have all this like logic stuff going on. Like, we are a very high species. We have science going on everywhere. So I think I don't know, that both things can happen at once is really interesting, because we both, not only do we have this base fear in us that can cause you to say like, oh my god, I think horrible things are happening and they're big scary people who are controlling everything that are banks and they're controlling Obama, but we also have people who can like create atomic bombs, and then you have the people who say, well, we're afraid, so we're going to launch the bombs at people. Like, you know what, I just think that we have this really interesting juxtaposition between really basic fears that get applied to really scary things that take a lot of thought and logic, and things that are the opposite of fear in terms of the human spectrum of emotions.
I mean, this ties into how politicians are responding to the Orlando Pulse shooting, to the Syrian refugee crisis, to the South Sudan refugee crisis. Like, it's easy for politicians to somehow have information that correlates to fear, that evokes some kind of emotion that they want to use for their campaign, right?
Yeah, and it's just like you literally do. You have these people who, like, when we had nuclear missiles were first being invented, you have these people who are saying we can do amazing things with nuclear power, and then immediately one of the first thing that happens was, let's make a bomb, and that's a fear reaction. Like, that's not something you do if you're not afraid. Like, you can say, oh well, I want to defend my country. Well, that means you're afraid somebody's going to do something to it. And I just think it's interesting that as soon as you have an advancement, you also have something to take that and twist it into this very base thing. And I got to that from conspiracy theories and hypochondria, I guess. But it's interesting to me how you can literally look at the pinnacle of scientific achievement and twist it back into such a, I don't know, animalistic use.
Well, it's easy because, like, you read stuff all the time about how technically, if you look at the number of wars and stuff happening around the world, we live in amongst the most peaceful times in all of human history. And it makes you think, like, oh, are we finally getting over some of those animalistic things? But then you still have people like Kim Jong-un and Trump and stuff like that who are reviving this whole animalistic instinct again and bringing it to this forefront of all the politics and the legislator and all this stuff. And it's just like, will we ever get past that? Is there even a possibility that we can ever move past that? I don't think there ever really truly is.
I mean,
you probably get better about it.
In some aspects, people have created positivity out of fear. So I feel like fear, as Amber said, is like a base emotion in like all of human species or animal life.
Because you need it.
Like, you need it to survive and to like evolve over time.
That'd be an interesting like sci-fi concept novel. Is like a society without the concept of fear.
There wouldn't be one.
Devastated.
Yeah.
We'd be devastated, right? Like everyone would just kill each other. I don't even think we would have made it this far. I think we would have died.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, well, see, even if you just go back to biology, if you don't have something in your brain telling you not to walk over the edge, then you're gonna walk over the edge. You're gonna die, and then you won't have babies, and then there won't be more. So I just don't think that's how that would work. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I think. But you were saying something.
Fear is a screwed up game of checkers or chess, man. It's really screwed up.
And it's so powerful because I think that's what's so interesting is you have some of these amazing minds making like robots that can do all kinds of things. When you have drones, which could be used for very, very positive things. And just immediately you can say, well, there are bad guys out there and we need this to get the bad guys. And the fear in people makes them, it's immediate, the turnover.
That's what happened with the war on drugs, right? People out of fear of marginalized people ruining their communities with illegal narcotics and stuff like that. And eventually what they did was they created private prisons and threw mass amounts of people behind bars. I mean, it was idealized because of the fear.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as you can, because you say that they're afraid of marginalized people, but I also feel like what they're afraid of is these are the parents, their kids are alive during this time. And maybe they are afraid of that, but I think what they're most afraid of is some horrible thing happening to their child. And it's interesting, as soon as you can take the thing that somebody's afraid of and twist it in a way, if you can change what people are afraid of, you can control them. Like if you can make them, if you can make them think they're afraid of one thing when they're actually afraid of another. So, or do some kind of crazy cause and effect, like, okay, so you don't want drugs, that means we have to arrest everybody who has the drugs. It's like, well, that's not necessarily, but as soon as you're playing on fear and people are just jumping to the first reaction that they have, it works. That's why Trump has so much support.
But that's why the movement to ban assault rifles and weapons is now slowly but surely moving, because people are scared of all these mass shootings, which there's been so many.
And that's interesting too.
Many.
And that's interesting too, because the reason why people have assault weapons is because they're afraid that somebody's gonna come into their house.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Everything goes back to, I would almost say, outside of something like hunger, I feel like fear might be the most powerful thing that we have. Like, I mean, I if you really think about it, is there anything...
is so low on the list right now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you can try to goad someone with good happiness and stuff like that and pleasure, but I still feel like fear wins out over pleasure if you're really like down to, base instincts, right?
Like fear can orientate.
Orient is good.
Orient someone's whole life, right? Like it pivots you.
Yeah.
It pivots your whole life to what you like want to be or where you want to live. It's crazy.
Even the smallest ways, like I can say like I want to be successful. Well, that's out of the fear of not having food, and out of the fear of not being cared about by people, and out of the fear of being lonely. It all goes back to these fears, right? In a way.
Yeah, that's why when we were looking for topics, we were like, Joe, this is such a broad topic. What do we do?
Amber comes through with like the most amazing discussion. I come through with, I have problems. Great. This is a riveting episode.
I mean, we all have problems. It's okay. I started in conspiracy theories and hypochondria. I don't really know what happened.
Which might be a preview for next week's episode. It could be a two-parter.
Ooh.
Can you believe it or not?
My mom's maiden name is Ripley.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
The believe it or not guy was some extended uncle of mine.
No,
Yeah.
seriously.
Seriously?
That's what they told me, unless they're lying. But I was told that he
Wow.
was like some kind of like great grand uncle who like disavowed the family for some reason,
Wow.
so we don't get any of the money. It's
I don't think I have any famous people in my family.
And then my like great grandmother was Thomas Edison's secretary, and I think my dad asked her like, "What was it like?" And she said he was an asshole, like this little old lady. So that was
Well, that sounds about right. And Jesse, you're related to
Molly Shannon.
Right.
So that's cool. But
And Bryce's great granduncle is
Duke Ellington.
Duke Ellington.
oh my god,
Yeah.
Black
She
excellence.
wins!
She's like, I
Black
know she absolutely
excellence.
wins. Like basically royal lineage, right?
yeah, actually, really though, she wins. She
Yeah.
just
She
won.
always wins.
We were in New York and we were standing next to the Duke Ellington statue. I was like, oh, this is perfect. We gotta get a picture. She's like, nah. I was like, no, come on.
This is like your great uncle.
It's your great uncle. No, it's all right. Like,
That's so
okay.
funny.
I love how she dropped that information one day.
Yeah,
she literally,
she does
like, we
that.
were just talking about things, and she's like, yeah, I'm related to Duke Ellington.
We're like, what, like?
Jesse, where's your saute pan? Like, what? You can't drop something like that.
Oh, I guess
Whatever.
I'm related to Alice Ripley. She played the lead character Next to Normal for 6 years on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
So
some
yeah, I
it
do
people,
was in your
remember that, yeah.
veins.
I don't know about that.
I
The
remember
theater
you
was in your
saying that.
veins.
Well, I have a lot of family who's artists.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, on my mom's side.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
My
Shouts out to Oberlin, Ohio.
Well, they live in Dayton, but
But still, via.
I think it was my great. I want to say it was like my grandpa's cousin or something like that. During the Prohibition, he was a bootlegger, and so he had.
you have it in your veins,
Yeah,
Joe.
Shade. So much shade.
It was all set up in his house and everything. And one day, and again, this is during the Prohibition, he gets a knock at the door, and he's like, "Oh God!" He's like, "Should I hide everything? Like, what do I do?" And it was indeed a cop outside, and they all said, "Are you the one creating bootlegged alcohol, moonshine?" And he goes, "Yes." And they're like, "Well, we're having a policeman's ball, and we need some." So he became the hero of the day. Didn't get arrested. He sold off a bunch of the moonshine to the cops.
That's
so.
hilarious. It's in your range, Joe. It's just who you are.
If you want to hear more delightful episodes,
Shady.
although this episode is pretty real. I don't
Until
know
the
if they're-
end.
They're not all quite that real. You can go to SoundCloud, which is I can't remember. I just lost it. SoundCloud.com/CYN podcast. Or if you go on iTunes, you can look under Can You Not under the podcast section. Make sure you give us a rating.
It doesn't have to be a good one.
Yeah,
we don't want.
we just want to know how constructive criticism is always good. We'll read it on the podcast if you give us a rating. You can also email us topic ideas or comments or anything like that at canyounotpodcast@gmail.com.
If you have extra money, my dad is still raising funds for his Ride to Remember thing, which all the funds that he gets will go to fight Alzheimer's. There are 18 days left, and there will probably be a link in the description. And we would appreciate all the help we can get, because it's a really good thing. My dad's riding his bike, and it'll be great.
What did we learn today? I learned that, I almost feel like I learned more from Amber's topic than from my own. I learned that fear controls everything.
I learned I got issues.
Well, I have them too.
I mean, shoot, like, I don't know. Yours seem pretty normal. Like, you're scared to hurt people. Like, you're
That
terrified.
sounds like such a
of-
superhero thing. Like, I'm afraid to hurt people with my powers.
Is that a
Like-
superhero voice? Anyways, I don't want an answer.
I don't want to know.
So, what I learned from Joseph is that he is terrified of hurting people.
Yes.
I've learned for myself that I got things I need to work out.
I think I project my ideas onto conspiracy theories and hypochondria because I don't really know how I got from there to the end.
This episode was something else. I don't even know what this. Like, how do you close out? This was a very heavy
It was
episode.
I feel like we had like real talk.
It
Like,
was
it's so hard.
About as real as it came.
Dang.
I
Dang, guys.
I don't even know what to do.
think we just end it here.
Okay, bye.
Bye.